go. So we're going to close it down here today at the final panel of the 8th annual Panagora Pharma CX Summit with, as I said, some heavy hitters here. And I love this panel because you guys are faced with challenges that are completely unique from most of our traditional pharma marketers out there. And the customer experiences challenges are manifest and variant between each one of your markets. So I'm going to ask you guys to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about what you do. And if you have a disclaimer, you can pop that out at that time. And I'm going to start with Michael because last week you were doing something else.
Yes, sir.
And this week you are doing what?
Yeah, it's been a crazy few weeks, but appreciate you having me back on. Always a pleasure. So about a few weeks ago, I was the chief commercial officer for a performance beauty company, which had a 900 kilodalton toxin that competed against the market leader, which in our space was Botox. 100% aesthetic. It's a beauty only company, and the challenge was how do you compete against Botox? So I did that for about 3 years. A couple of weeks after that, I joined a publicly traded company called Desktop Metal and became a CEO of a division called Desktop Health, which takes biofabrication to a whole new level in additive manufacturing. And we're starting in dental, which is where the legacy of the company really is, and going into ophthalmology and going into plastic surgery, dermatology, cardiology, orthopedics. And so we have a fun job at hand. So
disclaimer?
Anything I say will be my fault, not the company's fault. And so blame me.
Okay, Debbie Donovan.
Hi, I'll take Michael's disclaimer for 200, please.
Just repeat it word for word.
That's right. So my name is Debbie Donovan. I'm the Director of Market Development for Healthcare Professionals at Cala Health. We are the developer and manufacturer and durable medical equipment supplier of the Cala Trio, and it is the first de novo cleared wrist-worn wearable. It uses electricity to treat movement disorders like essential tremor. That's shaking on intentional action. So if I had an essential tremor, it would look like this.
And
this is the device.
Can I get texts on that?
Yeah, no, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
And Cassie?
I'm Cassie Hallberg, and I'm currently Vice President of Marketing at Neocis, and we make the first FDA-cleared robot to help place dental implants. And prior to that, I was Vice President of Marketing at Neuronetics, which made the NeuroStar for treating depression with transcranial magnetic stimulation.
We're getting into some big words here, which...
I've heard that. I worked in pharma. It was a lot easier.
and Joellen taking advantage of this beautiful spring day.
Yeah, have a nice day here. Hi, I'm Joellen Cook. I'm Product Director at Photocure. We are a specialty pharmaceutical company that focuses on bladder cancer, and currently we have one product. It's called Cysview. It makes bladder cancer turn pink in blue light so that urologists can see it and remove it more completely.
Awesome. So for very, very different situations in which we have to keep customer experience at the forefront in many different directions. So Michael, how does CX map onto what you are doing now?
Well, I'll play off of why probably I was invited, which was the work over the last 3 years, and then we could touch upon kind of my current work. But the customer experience journey, and it was great to listen to Ryan, wealth of knowledge, and I appreciate his programmatic approach to this. But the entire journey starts with the consumer experience in mind and working backwards. And so at the center of our launch at the time, this is back in 2018, we had to compete against Botox, which was an entrenched brand. And the only way we were able to differentiate ourselves was through the use of CX. And we took that customer experience, not only from the consumer, but also the professional, and we aligned it. And that to us was a big difference in how we went to market. It was a successful launch. It was very focused on a target and a mindset with a different language and aligned consumer experience. so that when the consumer went into the physician's office or the patient went into the physician's office, that experience was not disjointed from a brand standpoint, and both spoke almost the same language about the product.
Now, a lot of times the HCP and the consumer focus operate in different hierarchies and different silos, if you will. Is the size of your organization contribute to the ability to do that? Whereas maybe a larger organization might, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing.
Yeah, look, it helped to have a blank canvas, but frankly, even with 200 employees, you still have silos. With 20 employees, you have silos. It's just inevitable. People like to carve out their paths, and it's always hard to connect the dots on things you're not necessarily working on. And so creating a culture that breaks those silos was very important. But this world of HCP and consumer has always been fascinating to me because, you know, we go and buy consumer goods, whether it's a car or whatever the case may be, and we never land on a site that says, if you're a dealer, check this, you know, Mercedes-Benz, you know, language and experience, and if you're a buyer, then you should go down this path. But yet, we realize the depth of knowledge of our audience are not, you know, car dealers, and we have physicians that want to go much deeper. But by and large, I've been in ophthalmology. I went into medical aesthetics. I'm now talking to dentists. Then they're still human beings, and there's only so much that you could give them in terms of technical knowledge before they're already lost in that. So centering the consumer experience around the physician and the physician experience around the consumer, to me, was key.
Now, I just heard dentist and human beings, and Cassie's mission is to replace the human dentist with her robot overlords. Tell us a little bit about the particularities of customer experience as it pertains to your product and your market.
So first off, we don't replace the dentist, and we'll never replace the dentist. We guide the dentist. So you need to think of the Yomi robot as a wingman. So kind of like Goose and Top Gun is a good way to describe it, right? He's the wingman to the dentist. Customer experience is absolutely critical. So there's two parts to our customer experience. One is just like you, HCP, and one is patient. And we have to be paying attention to both of that. Why is that important? So in dentistry, they are notorious for buying the next greatest cool thing and putting it in a closet and never using it. And that's not good for the dental practice. It's not good for the patient.
As seen on TV, right?
As seen on TV, exactly. So the customer experience of our dentists are absolutely, and our oral surgeons, absolutely critical. And what we do to try to make that a great experience is we make sure they're never alone. So when you buy a Yomi, you're not just buying a piece of equipment from a company. You are now part of the Yomi community. And we do a lot of community building activities. We actually had a Remo meeting last night with all of our customers and rolled out our latest innovations. And we do this once every 3 months. We also do a lot of information and education building activities. We have a clinical person who's assigned to each and every one who practically can live in the office if need be. And we understand that we're there 24/7. I get emails at 4:45 a.m. with doctors having great brainstorms. And so creating that community is absolutely critical. Why do they feel like they're part of a community? Because they're the pioneers. They're the first people using robotics in dentistry, and they're so excited. And they're excited because they're getting results that you just can't get with a human hand and a human eye. And again, we don't replace the doctor, we use haptics. So if you think about the vibrations on your phone, we use basically resistance. So when the doctor is going in the right direction, the robot's drill is absolutely feather light and it's guiding their hand directly to where they need to be. And when they're going in the wrong direction, it becomes very heavy and it will actually prevent them from going off their plan. And that allows them to avoid hitting nerves, sinuses, things that would be bad. So again, customer experience, super important with the dentist. A lot of them, you know, they just joy in using what we're doing. It makes their job fun. And
well, I'm going to use that to segue over to Elynn, but first tell me about the patient experience in terms of that, because you mentioned hitting a nerve, you know, like what happens if that patient experience goes off the rails?
Absolutely. So, you know, the patient experience is key because the patients are the ones out there telling everybody, you need to go to Dr. Jones because he uses robotics. And why do they need to believe in the robotics? Because of the fact that the robotics is going to allow the doctor to make a much smaller incision and use less sutures, and you get a lot less pain and swelling. Plus, if you think about it, an implant is paid for primarily by the patient. So unlike, medical pharma where somebody else is paying, they're actually paying for it. And these things run you anywhere from $5,000 to, if you're doing an entire upper jaw or lower jaw, $25,000. So these are big expenditures. And you really want your doctor to get it right, because you don't want to have to do this again. So you really want to buy it once, you want it to look great, and you don't want to be in a lot of pain.
So Joellen, the HCP experience is important. The patient experience is important. Your product plays into both of those, as well as some other dimensions of X, let's say. You are mute, yeah.
Yep.
So just tell us a little bit about those, the HCP, the patient, and then what other X's.
Yeah.
And I mean in customer experience, not your.
I understand.
That.
Yes, so we're playing on a lot of different fields here. Although Cysview is a pharmaceutical product, it can only be used with medical device investment, and we do not sell the medical device. So we have to partner with another company to make sure they sell in the equipment so that our drug can be used. But it's only one of many in their line of equipment, and Cysview is all we do. So we are on the front line leading the charge in most cases. We're meeting the urologists, forming the relationships, and finding those who focus on bladder cancer. It's a very small within urology. So our reps are highly experienced. They partner with the surgeons. They go into the surgeries. They are a very sophisticated partner in the whole process. And so the user experience at that level of building trust and building reliance and having that camaraderie where the surgeon, shares with you and depends on you is one key area of success. If they don't want to see you, they're not going to do your procedure. So that's important, right? The other part of that is it's not only the surgeon level of the HCPs who need to have a good experience with us, it's also the support staff, because our product needs to be reconstituted from a powder into a fluid and then instilled into a patient's bladder an hour before the procedure so that the product can start to work in time for the tumors to glow under the blue light during the procedure. So you have all of the nursing and support staff who are involved. You have schedulers who are involved because they have to let our reps know when the procedure is scheduled. In the best case, they're reminding the doctors that if they're doing a cystoscopy, do they want it to be a blue light cystoscopy? So there's a level of relationship there that needs to be cultivated. And then on the other side, we do not have facilities in nearly as many locations as exist. So patients have to seek out blue light cystoscopy with Cysview. And so it's important that patients know it exists and ask for it, seek it out, ask for it. Because even if you go to a facility that has it, if you don't ask for it, you may not get it. It's really an odd situation because it's such an amazing technology where your cancer becomes visible. It seems like a no-brainer, but there's a lot of education and influence that goes into play. And as far as direct user experience, the most amazing thing is when our product is used in the office in a flexible environment, because the doctor puts the scope into the bladder and then it displays on a screen and the patient's awake and he's watching what the physician's watching. So the patient can see the tumors glow on the screen so that they can see how much cancer they have. And if it's a little bit of cancer, sometimes doctors can remove it right there in the office. So the patient can see it was there, now it's not there, and I can leave happy. So
it sounds like
all
you have a lot of
stuff going on.
I know, a lot of plates spinning makes you want to just go back to marketing a single indication drug to a small specialty, right?
No,
so,
I
Debbie,
love it. It's the best.
So in the device world, and you have a wearable device, What kind of challenges do you face with CX, or what types of solutions are you bringing to the CX in terms of your product and therapy?
Right. So we have a fully digital ecosystem, and that means that we can prescribe telemedicine, which, oh, by the way, started before the pandemic, which was hard to do. And then all of a sudden it got a lot easier to do. So that was interesting. And then we deliver the device to the patient's doorstep. So that's a fully automated, process. And then we do training over the phone and web meetings. So we teach the patient how to put this on. Everything, hand is shaking, as you can imagine. It's hard to put on something like this. So everything has to be really patient-centric, and the experience has to be comfortable for the patient. They have to understand all of it. And then on top of it all, so we provide support and data, and we're just getting into our portal offering. And right now, the portal helps the patient with all of their customer support activities, like learning how to use their device. But it starts to show them when they use their device, how often, whether they rated it up, down, and sideways afterwards. And then, of course, we're spinning that data back out to them. So to the last presenter where we're talking about website development, it's really interesting because, we're having to integrate our direct-to-consumer website that attracts patients to the product and drives them to their healthcare professional to get prescribed. But then we're also coming back to that same environment to create a portal experience for them to get their data. And the data, by the way, we don't just capture usage data, we capture how much before and after the electrical medicine has impacted their tremor. So if they were shaking like this before, and now they're like this, we can see that numerically. And traditionally, that was something that was only seen with a healthcare professional's very trained eye. And they would rate things on a scale of 1 to 4 or 1 to 5. And we
so you can actually see the results, much like Cisview.
Yeah, we have 3D, three-dimensional accelerometer power measurements that are just amazing. So it's really fun. It's lots of fun.
You do sound like you enjoy working with this product, and you did manage to answer all 3 of my questions that I had in one sitting. So I want to try to adapt from that and go back to Michael and say, you kind of gave us an overview of what you were doing, I guess, at the last company or even with this company. So what's one thing that you're doing to optimize CX? A particular technique or tool, technology, anything like that?
Yeah, the ideal state of CX is a combination of really well thought out design and a data infrastructure that you're able to intercept at every one of your journeys. And so much to Debbie's comment, she's taking wearable technology and translating that data into something, something that's going to probably help the pipeline in the future product design. So for us, we look at for once. So people talk about website as website. We think about website as a product. We think of our product as a product. We think of our applications as a product. We think of our technology. Everything for us has a lens of a product, which means 2 things. It's designed for the ultimate user. And 2, we overlay technology, quite a bit of technology that allows us to intercept data point from every one of these products. And so when people touch our physician app, we know through technology what is the most commonly used button. Where does your finger hover over the most? What pages do you jump on the site? Which are the buttons that are most actionable on the site? And we stitch all that on the back end so that we could optimize the entire experience. And there's a lot of technology to overlay on this. I won't bore you down that path, but quite so often you stand up a product, not through a lens of a product, but through a lens of the tactic. And then you forget that in order for this product to maintain its effectiveness, you need to constantly feed it, and it needs to give you information back so you can constantly feed it and change it. So we apply that lens through all of our design so that we can enhance the experience at every touch point.
Cassie, what's one thing that you guys are doing in particular to augment or optimize customer experience?
Like I said, I think, a lot of the community building activities that we're doing is really designed to be so much more. So, not only are we partnered in There's surgical excellence. We're trying to recognize the surgical excellence. We actually just launched a Centers of Excellence program and laid out, here's the clinical standards you have to meet in order to be at different levels. We also are, involved in working on their practice building. And so everything from working with a PR company to announce to their communities when they hit a milestone, if the doctors hit 100, if they've treated a patient that has a really compelling story. We actually have a PR agency on retainer to publicize that for them. And we also are consulting with them on all of their marketing, because if our doctors grow, we will grow. And so we really don't see kind of a separation. Once you're a Yomi doctor, we have a vested interest in making sure that your practice is going to succeed. And so I think that's a little different than what you kind of find in pharma, where, you're trying to get someone to prescribe a drug. Here you are a business partner and you've got a vested interest in helping them. And keep in mind, doctors, if they wanted to become marketing and sales experts, they could have done that a lot faster and simpler than going all the way through medical school. Mm-hmm. So, we try to remember that, and we try to be their marketing and sales consultants.
And that's something that I was going to ask exactly is, so would a dentist be too busy, uninterested, or not even think about, promoting the fact that they use Yomi or hitting milestones with that, et cetera?
And this is where, I think dentists and psychiatrists, it's a little bit different than a general doctor. They are small business owners. And so they do need to pay the bills, manage a staff, and they've got all the headaches of any small business owner. But, marketing, it's not exactly their passion. Their passion is treating patients and getting patients better. It's sort of a necessary evil. So if we can give them advice on, what is digital marketing? How do you do digital marketing? What does a website look like? What's a good website? It's great that you're getting really detailed about osseointegration, but you know what? The patient probably isn't that interested in the osseointegration. They really just want to know what's this going to do for their life. And, how do you stagger it so the patient that's really interested gets the top layer, but the lower layers of that onion as they peel it are available to them. So, we're getting into the UX for our customers.
No, that's fantastic. And it's sort of next level, next step kind of thing. At the conclusion of this panel, we're going to have a virtual happy hour, and Cassie and I will be at a table discussing osseointegration for all of those other osseointegration enthusiasts that may want to join us. And Joellen, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked everybody else, but I'm just wondering, I'm not 100% sure about the regulations between your product and the dental world, because there are differences, but I would think that would be a great thing for CISView doctors if you had some type of mechanism to be able to, toot their horn forward.
Yes, it really would. So we do have something called a communication toolkit. And as a pharma company, we are not allowed to provide value to any one facility over another. So
Gotcha.
We have it available on our website. Anyone and anywhere in any industry, in any walk of life, can go and download it. But it basically tells you the hints and tips on how to do the promotion yourself, because we can't pay for your advertising. We can't buy you a billboard. We can't give you any financial support, but we do have me. And so we have the written document. They can also talk to me. I can advise, I can support. And if they need my help creating something, I can do that, but then it has to go into the communication toolkit so they can be the first to use it, but then it has to be available to everybody. And so that's how it has evolved. So that's that, but I have something else I'd like to
Please do. That was yeah.
I would say one of the most major things that we do is ask audiences. So we have
Ooh, you're not supposed to do that anymore.
I don't care. We do, and it helps.
I don't know if you saw any of those other presentations. You're supposed to ask him, not ask him, ask him. I don't know.
No, we have people who are willing to help us and want to help us, and so we have a patient council, we have a nurse council, we have a physician council, we even have an employee council, a sales team council. We go that far as to getting input from our employees too. So that's if you're gonna do it for them, you got to ask them.
But I think that's a very simple and old-fashioned kind of situation to be able to just ask. even though all the advice leading up to this panel has said you're not supposed to do that. It's no newfangled technology. It's not AI. It's not blockchain. It's just asking them, right? You know, and you'll get the answer that you want to have. So Debbie, anything in particular that you guys are doing? I mean, you mentioned that the portal that you had, I was wondering if your patients experience, you know, portal fatigue, or you know, it's our human nature as Homo sapiens and Americans to skip through all the directions, not read the manual, slap the thing on, and hope I'm cured, right? So is there, you know, any challenges with that?
So the portal, we're just launching that right now with our customers. So we're rolling it out to new prescriptions that are being filled, and then working backwards to people who were recently filled. And so we don't really have the fatigue factor, but we do have some patients that were really interesting. We did a Facebook Live event of them last week, and he was already obsessed with his data. He just kept like a Google spreadsheet. And so we know that these patients are forgotten. And so for them to have something that they can actively engage with that's beyond their just taking medication, that's the other thing, is that this electrical medicine can be used alongside or, you know, with a regular chemical medication. And so it can enhance that situation or change the dynamics of that. So right now, patients really are just so interested to see about their tremor that they for. And so for us as a company, we have to provide an experience that enables that process and doesn't make them feel like there's something wrong with them. It has to be something that they do, that they're doing right, and that they're getting the information back. And of course, no one's ever seen this data before. So we have no idea, once we start to show people the change in their power rating, how that's going to change how they feel about their tremor reduction. It's similar to when you start tracking your calories, you all of a sudden eat less.
Oh,
like you feel differently about the food that you're doing. So I personally am expecting that we're going to see some dynamic changes. Patients are going to feel differently about their tremors than they were in the past.
But we did learn earlier, I don't know if you were here for that, but if you know how much calories are in something you're going to eat, you find that interesting, but you still don't care. So hopefully this will have a different effect on that. So what I'm going to do,
I have to go, Seth. As you know, I need to go to.
So answer my one question, which is one word answer. The future of my customer experience is blank.
Personal.
Development.
Cassie.
Community.
Relay technology.
Oh, okay. Well, we had to go that there. Debbie, thank you very much. I know that you have to jump right now. That is the end of our time for this panel, as well as for the 8th annual Panagora Pharma CX Summit. In just a moment, we're going to return to the floor plan where you can stay and interact with some of the other guests. Double-click on any seat to join that conversation. It'll take you right there. But I'd like to thank all of our panelists that we had here from the non-traditional pharma sector, as well as all of our panelists and speakers for the entire conference, and looking forward to seeing you again at the next Panagora event, of which we will make no secret in alerting you towards. So thank you, everyone, and we will go to the floor plan.